It was the trenches, dude.
It was the trenches, but it was such a good group of people that all had the same vision to a point where they were just working and putting in hours for no real benefit outside of they just want to start a really cool group.
Yeah.
And because of that layer was set, it made everything else far easier.
Welcome to the ATX DAO Podcast, the hub for exploring the forefront of blockchain technology and Austin's Web3 community. Your hosts, Nick, Mason, Luke, and Ash, connect you with innovators within ATX DAO and beyond as we venture into the world of decentralized technology. So crack open a beer and join us for a front row seat to learn about the innovations and trends shaping our digital future. This is the ATX DAO Podcast.
Well, John, welcome, man.
No, thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on the podcast and talking with you guys and BSing a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't realize that you'd never been to this location before.
No, I haven't.
In the elevator, yeah.
Yeah. When I was walking down, I'm like, I think this is the building because you sent me the directions and I don't know if I've been there. And then when you said all the DAO meetings you're here, I'm like, I've been out of the country for the last couple of months, so I'm completely out of it. So it's good to be back.
Yeah, dude, this place is crazy.
Yeah, this is really nice.
Yeah,
like actually really nice.
Killer.
Studio is really nice.
Yeah.
Like you remember back in the beginning, we were like, we need a co-working space for crypto in Austin.
We had many arguments, many DAO proposals on how we could basically do the same thing, having a co-working space ourselves. And obviously financially, it's just impossible to raise that kind of money and make sure that people pay for that.
Well, it becomes a full-time effort too.
Yeah, it does.
Right? Like,
I mean, most of these people are part of the DAO. They're not making any money. So it's hard to tell people to say, hey, do a bunch of work for no money.
Yeah.
But I guess that's crypto, to be honest.
Crypto, the crazy world of crypto. And how long ago was that? Like a year and a half when we were talking about that?
Well, so when we were talking about it,
Was that the second time around?
That was the second time around.
Oh, okay, so this has been a recurring theme.
Yeah. So
there was the argument in Capital Factory.
No, but there was another proposal to actually
that was
that was the second one. Okay.
Yeah, I think we had the first DAO meetup, and Mason, you were there. Was back in
August.
Was it August?
August 2020 at Lazarus.
It was at Lazarus, and it was kind of a random. We'll see if anybody shows up because it was five of us. So
so you were part of the founding beer.
Yeah. So
okay, cool.
It was five of us that would go and just get beers once a month, twice a month. And so we would go and BS about crypto and kind of pump each other up a little bit about, which coins to buy and what's the new alpha. And then we kept doing this over and over again. We'd always go to Lazarus. And it got to a point where we knew that there were other people like us in Austin being a tech hub. We knew there are other people like that. And we just decided one night over like probably too many beers that we were going to start a DAO, but not as anything more than a networking friendship, come have a beer with us kind of thing. And that night we made the website, we made the Discord, we started inviting people. And I think it was a week later, we said, hey, let's do our first DAO meetup. And had no idea who was going to come out, and ended up having like 20 plus people, and Mason was one of them. And I still have a picture, the original picture of us on the benches at Lazarus. And it was like the first group of crypto people that I knew, because I'm not originally from Austin, so I didn't know anybody in Austin.
Where are you from originally?
Philadelphia.
Okay, cool.
So my wife and I moved over here in 2019, so a year before COVID, and I didn't know anybody, and then COVID happened, and I think that brought more and more people to the ATX DAO just because they had such an influx of people coming from different places, and they're either crypto curious or they're crypto native, and it kind of fed that, like, I want to make some friends, I want to meet other people in the area because I'm new, come out to the ATX DAO meetups and events. Yeah. And it just exploded from there.
I had the same experience. So I moved here in August of 2020, and so it was like the very beginning of COVID, or just after the beginning of COVID. And it's same deal. Like, it was empty, but I knew I wanted to find crypto people. I'd been in the space for a while, and I was looking for connections. And I think the DAO just, like, you guys kind of hit the opportune time when it was kind of quiet, and it was a good time to connect with people. So that founding beer.
Yeah.
Do you remember Like, did everybody at the table know what a DAO was?
Yeah. So everybody, so the original 5 people that we would hang out with are in the crypto space pretty heavily. And so everybody was very familiar with what a DAO was, and it was still kind of cutting edge. Like, it wasn't like the first hour, but as a city, I think it was very, very close to being one of the first ones. And when we decided to do this, it was more of at the time, DAOs were being created to crowdfund projects, and it wasn't that. And I remember us fighting. We had a WeWork space, and we'd go to the WeWork space while this was all starting, and we would fight about how the DAO should progress from the very beginning. Because if we screwed it up from the very beginning, then it wouldn't be a thing anymore. And our first argument was, should we have a token, or should we go the NFT route? And that was a big kind of butting of the heads of, well, we can do the token because other people have done that.
Which side were you on?
I was the NFT side. And the reason why was, if we did a token and it failed, there would be no DAO anymore. I wasn't in this for any financial gain. I never said like, well, let's get this so we can make $1 bajillion on our token. It was, I just want other people to drink with and hang out with. And I want some cool information about other people in the area as well. I live here, so I might as well.
Yeah.
And I think we did the math and the numbers, and we saw, because friends with benefits kind of was what we were targeting as a group, because we were kind of similar at the time. We wanted to put on events.
They were one of the first like well-known social DAOs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But they weren't necessarily part of any city. They were just part of different cities.
Right.
And so they raised the token, and you saw the token exploding in price. And we said, oh, this is really great. Maybe we should do this. And then it started imploding.
Yeah.
And then the price started going down, and people were selling it, and people were buying it because of speculation. And that's not what we wanted the ATX DAO to be.
Yeah.
Speculation was never the key. Like, you have to be part of it because the price is going to increase. It was, you should be part of it because you want to be around other like-minded people.
Yeah.
And so I think it came to the breaking point of, it doesn't make sense to do this. We're going to have to raise more money because we'll have to have liquidity pools for the token. So not only are we going to have to try to get people to want to buy it, we're going to also have to put our own money up to make liquidity pools so people can trade the token and so forth. And it became a blessing in disguise that we didn't have a bunch of money to raise to put up. The NFT route was a much better idea, and it's morphed into something completely different than what it, I guess, started as. Like, it was an NFT, and now we have rounds of NFTs, and Mason and others have put ideas of how we can increase rounds of new individuals coming into the DAO and changing the NFT in different ways.
So you're a seasoned crypto guy. You've been in the space for how long?
2013.
2013. Okay, so you have strong conviction, obviously, and I'm imagining that runs pretty deep to some of the principles, the reasons why we're here. So, in your mind, going back, a few years when you guys started the DAO, you're looking at tokens, you're looking at NFTs, you're going the NFT route, but to the average person, because I think I have that conversation a lot lately, right? To the average person, like, why does this stuff matter? So to the average person, how do you explain that? Does it matter? Like, why do we need an NFT to get together and have beers?
I think the average person, and this is where Web3 user experience is really bad. If you go to a website, because it's just overcomplicated, and it's really cool at first, and then you're like, there's too many transactions I have to do to enter websites, and somebody who's not native is going to be like, what am I connecting a wallet to? That sounds like I'm giving somebody money, and so I think you could think of it as just a membership, like in any other organization. I'm sure there's a membership here. All you're doing is you're just acquiring a membership that nobody can take away from you. So you hold that membership; it's yours. You can sell it if you want to. And I think that's the cool part of any decentralized finance or organization is you have full control of that. You have full control of your wallet. This is why the beauty of kind of the hybrid Web 2, Web 3 logins now, where instead of having a website where you are creating a password that they're saving in their own database and hashing it, there's still a chance that it could get hacked and hashed to match other passwords, and you could be you could be taken advantage of in some way.
100%.
With the ability that you're keeping your private keys, it's all on you now. And I like that. I don't want it to depend on any one person with my information. And I want to be able to do with my information what I want to do. And so with this membership is now I can be part of the ATX DAO, but I don't have to depend on the ATX DAO to stay alive. It's autonomous for a reason. And I think, I'm not as active in the DAO as when I first started, but because other people step in, it does become autonomous.
Yeah.
Like the DAO is better now
Yeah.
than it was when it first started by far. There are great people in the DAO now that are pushing that further than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, totally agree, man. And, I think there's the skin in the game aspect too, right? Beyond the price of an NFT or whatever, because it's, like you said, we're not in this for financial gain. We're trying to keep the treasury as sustainable as possible and build something. But even the complexity that people have to go through right now to get an NFT to become a member, I think it says something, right? About you wanting to be here, you wanted to be in this space, to be a part of this. And I think that's pretty clutch right now. I don't know that it's always going to be like that, because I think it's, the experience, like you said, it's getting easier and easier. And so it'll actually be good for the space when people don't realize that they're getting these assets. But at the same time, right now, it's kind of a good forcing function or filter.
Yeah. Yeah. With having the ability to pay for a membership, not on speculation, it changes the entire game. So it changes our organization as a whole, just because there's nobody jumping in for speculation. Like, I could name probably on one hand how many people have actually sold an NFT on the open market. Yeah, it doesn't it's just not there because there is no speculation. Like if you're part of Austin, you're probably going to keep the NFT and stay in the group.
Yeah.
If you move, I could obviously see why you wouldn't have the NFT anymore, but somebody else will pick that up from you and now be part of the DAO.
Or you might not. I mean, it's nostalgia. It's like,
that's true as well.
Cred, right?
No, that's absolutely true. And I think that's the beauty of it, is like you get to keep it.
Yeah.
I can forever, if I hold this NFT, I can from day one say I was part of the ATX DAO this time.
It's like, and that's a concept that I don't think yet resonates with a lot of people out there. When I give presentations and such about Web3 to like mainstream audiences. And, one of the things that I put out there is this idea that we don't actually own anything on the internet. Literally, we're renters of everything on the internet. You don't own a single thing. You can't own anything on the internet the way that we think about ownership until you introduce Web3 and on-chain, security. So I think it's going to take a while for that to click with the mainstream. But I think once they do, like this idea of, having a lineage or a heritage with your digital life, that's going to actually be pretty interesting and maybe important to people.
Yeah. For me, it's always been, I don't want to depend on anybody else for any of my information or anything that I do. I can control, and I have, I hope, enough maturity to do what I need to do with my own information. And with the blockchain, it just goes on forever. Like you don't technically, if you have a ledger, there's nothing necessarily in your ledger,
right?
But it is a pointer to somebody running an Ethereum node somewhere saying that I have this NFT. And as long as that person stays up running and all of the other thousands of people running nodes, that information is yours forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
I mean, the power could go out across the world. And once we figure out how to reboot society, like we all agree to rewind to a block.
Yeah.
We're good, right? You still got your stuff.
Yeah.
So 2013, that's a while. You've seen some cycles. Tell us what's your crypto rabbit hole story.
So I had a friend in high school that I was really, really, really big in World of Warcraft. And I was, this was right around post graduation from university. And I was at his place and he'd still play World of Warcraft. And he was telling me one day about this really cool internet money that he was getting paid in to do quests or to do different jobs in World of Warcraft. And I said, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, why would you do that? You're getting fake money just to scroll around on a video game.
Was it an actual crypto?
It was Bitcoin.
Oh, it was Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was Bitcoin, but it was something stupid in 2013.
Okay, yeah,
Nobody cared about it. And I said, that's so stupid. He's like, yeah, but also you can buy weed on the internet with Bitcoin. I said, well, hold up, let me check this out a little bit. And so this was right around the time of Silk Road. And so Silk Road I hopped on Silk Road and I said, this is amazing. Like I can buy anything I want with this fake internet money. And so I fell in love and I came home. I immediately installed the wallet. And back then you had to legit have the entire blockchain node like on your computer to run a wallet, which took forever. And I said, whatever, this is pretty cool still.
How long did it take to sync back then?
It was hours. Yeah, even back then.
Hours.
Yeah, it was still it was still long.
The good old days.
Yeah, this was before Coinbase. This was before anything. And to go even on a different tangent, I remember meeting up at McDonald's to buy Bitcoin from somebody before Coinbase happened because I was using local Bitcoin trader, and I would meet up with this guy and buy Bitcoin ever so often. And it got to a point where I was giving him cash, and he got spooked enough where even back then, there were federal agents that were like looking into money laundering. And so unless I started giving him physical cashier's checks, he wouldn't accept cash anymore. And so it got to a point where even before like Coinbase and other traditional exchanges, the federal government was still cracking down on Bitcoin. Like they knew about it. But that's where my story began. Was I was just wanted to buy weed on the internet, and then I kind of got hooked on from there, seeing that every so often the price of Bitcoin would go up. And I said, wow, this is really cool. Like whatever this is, like I'm just holding it and I get to buy things and the price is going up. And I remember years later talking to my friend, because I never asked him how much he actually had.
Right.
And he ended up saying that he had bought a coffee maker with it for 22,000 Bitcoin.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
22,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do the math on that. Oh my God.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Big number.
Big number.
And he's okay. I mean, he's like, it took me a little bit to like fully come around to saying like, wow, like my life could have been completely different. But at the same time, you just did a bunch of video game odd jobs and you got a coffee maker. That's pretty cool. So when I hear stuff like that, I don't ever look back and say, oh, I wish I had more Bitcoin. Because like everybody, of course, everybody did. But I still got into it early enough to be able to mess around with the early time, like the early days of going to McDonald's and meeting up with random strangers to buy internet money. Like that's still a funny story.
The first time you did that, were you sketched out?
The first thing, you never know who you're meeting up with because it's literally a Craigslist. Like local Bitcoin trader was literally a Craigslist.
I mean, I'm pretty sure people have been killed that way.
They could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know why we ended up meeting in a random McDonald's, but there were enough people during the day that it wasn't like super sketchy. But back then, transactions would take a very long time. So I would send the money to him, and we would both be sitting across each other at a booth. And I would send the money through my wallet on my phone, and we would just sit there awkwardly, like trying to make small talk, waiting for it to actually like do something. And then when it finally did, then we swapped and then we left. And I would text him or call him and say, "Hey, can I buy some more?" And we would meet up. Yeah,
that's wild, man.
But thinking back, he had an entire organization that would do this. So he was far, like at that time, far more involved and had, I guess, a forethought of what Bitcoin was going to be, because he was doing this at like a pretty large scale in 2013.
Yeah, definitely. I met a guy here in Austin who actually kind of ran an operation like that.
Yeah,
he's actually still under investigation.
But it's difficult because what do you do? I mean, can you accept cash for that? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the operation behind that moment that has him in hot water. But okay, so what year was that?
2013.
So 2013 to now, 10 years later, what's been your crypto adventure in between?
So that was so I was living in Philadelphia then. I was working for a company that was going back and forth between London, because we had an organization in the Philippines.
By the way, what's your background?
I actually started in marketing. So I went to Temple University for marketing, and then ended up hating it. Like I just didn't like marketing. And so I was working for a company that I kind of dug in more on the tech side. So I was building websites and front ends and for this company that was in Philadelphia at the time. So half the team was in the Philippines. And so we would go every so often to London as like a middle base, like meet and greet, make sure everything's going to plan. And ended up meeting my wife over there at one of the trips. I ended up moving over there for a couple of years. And while I was there, I started a mutual fund. So a friend of mine was part of Merrill Lynch. And he was more of the financial regulatory side of things. And I was more of the degen, let's just build a cool crypto project. And we partnered up and started a company in London. And it was basically a mutual fund for the top crypto currencies at the time. So this was right before end of 2016 is when it started. And it was just like basically the top 10, and you could invest in a tokenized asset of the top 10 current crypto projects.
Okay, like an index token.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so 2017 hit, and then it crashed. Everything crashed. I remember I was flying to Miami and going to BTC Miami, and seeing the prices just drop over the phone as soon as we landed. And I said, "Oh, geez,
Yeah.
this is gonna be bad."
This was post ICO era, right?
Yeah. So this
Okay,
was January 2017.
Yeah.
So that's when everything started collapsing. Our investors started pulling out. They said, "This is a scam. Right? I don't want to be part of this." And so we lost tons and tons of investment from it, and kind of just had to put the brakes and say, "We can't do this. Like, we can't physically run it ourselves with the money that we had."
Right.
And so we had to kind of close shop and pay back everybody.
Like, so when that was happening, like, what was going through your head? I mean, were you thinking like, we're done, this is over?
I didn't know. There were, I mean, at least with Bitcoin over the past 10 years, there have been tons and ups and downs. This was the largest one that I've experienced, just because it wasn't just Bitcoin and Ethereum anymore and some larger projects. It was a lot of ICOs, like you said.
Yeah.
Projects that raised tons and tons of money that had a dream, and I think everybody jumped on that speculation train of like, this is going to be the next Bitcoin. Everybody thinks that. When they see a crypto go up, they say, "I can't sell. This is going to be the next Bitcoin. I'm going to be the next Bitcoin holder." And it collapsed. And because of that, tons and tons of money came out. You had the Jamie Dimons of the world coming around saying that there's a scam and this is going to go to zero. And like, at that time, if you're not part of the crypto world, you probably say the same thing. Like, "Okay, it's over. Like, I tried.
Yeah.
I
Told you so."
Yeah.
See you at Thanksgiving.
I made the bet. I made the bet and lost. And most people didn't take profit, so they came up with zero.
Yeah.
But I think seeing that, you have to weather the storm no matter what, because if you weather the storm and you keep kind of price averaging, buying throughout those bad times, you come out at the top and you feel like a boss. Like, I think there's no other explanation of, like, in a real bull run, if you've done that over the past X amount of years or months, you really feel like a Warren Buffett of trading, because I have the power now.
Nice. Yeah.
But you have to take profit.
That's probably like the first lesson you learned in your first down cycle.
Oh, take profit.
Yeah,
I mean, I have
absolutely.
like a lot of, I would say a lot of, like, the Bitcoin that I've had from the very beginning, I've never touched it. It will be something that I never touched. It's not something I think about. It sits there. If I'm old and gray, and maybe, but there's no reason. I have no reason to do that, because I think, like, that's how I started. I don't want to just get rid of it. There's like some sentimental value to it.
There's a portion of my portfolio that it's labeled escape hatch.
Exactly.
And, when all of this goes to shit, like, that's the parachute. But
Exactly.
yeah. So so this past, I don't know how long we've been in winter. 18 months.
Yeah, feels a long time.
It's been rough. What have you been doing during this past winter?
I think it's just building. I think with being in the Chainlink ecosystem, there's a lot going on, especially in Chainlink, that they've been building over the past.
That's right. So you're at Chainlink, right?
Yeah. So I work at work in Chainlink's ecosystem as the node provider. So we run at Linkable, we run Chainlink nodes for all of the networks in Chainlink. So Chainlink's chain agnostic. There's no specific blockchain that they're associated with, but they run decentralized oracles. So getting information from the real world to put to the blockchain. And so we developed the specific derivative token for liquid Link staking. So Link is now you're able to stake your Link token. And so we made the derivative token for that we can now, or liquid staking derivative, that you can now use it like a Lido does with SDE. So instead of just staking it in normal Chainlink and having it locked there, you can now have a derivative token that you can do it.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Johnny Chains.
Yeah.
On Chainlink. I'm thinking from the ATX DAO perspective. You're going all the way back now. What you're saying earlier about the NFT decision that you guys made literally has been fundamental to the success of the organization.
I think there was more of a dynamic with the NFT side, and because we are in Austin, and Austin is such an artsy area, like it allowed not just like a membership, but it was like a 3-dimensional. Oh, we can have artists design these NFTs now, which has a different part. Like that's a completely different avenue that people can get involved in the DAO with, and we've used obviously artists in the Austin area to make some of our NFTs, which are really cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much people know about the amount of hacking that had to be done by John here to get the DAO set up.
Did you do a lot of hacking?
Well,
I mean,
coding.
Yeah, no. But
yeah, so Cliff and Malcolm were the other two devs that were start from the very beginning, and I do remember staying up late at night with them trying to figure out like, okay, what image are we going to use? Because the first image for the ATX DAO's NFTs was not so good. Like it was a kind of, well, we're not going to hire an artist now, and we have one day to do this. Let's just put something together, and then we ended up doing some kind of.
It's like a bat reflection or something.
It was a bat with like a sunset or something like that.
Do you remember when we were doing the Zelker one, and it was like a week of like just blitz work, and like you were sick, and Malcolm was sick, and like Clifton, he didn't have a baby at the time, but he was sick or something. I don't know. Yeah, he had another baby. I don't know.
Cliff and I were up, and I was like trying to talk to him on like Discord. I like couldn't talk because I had COVID. But yeah, we got it through and
got it done.
Yeah.
When did you guys launch the initial contract?
That was, so we had our first minting was on the rooftop bar.
Yeah, I was it was right. It's like above where Red Ash is now.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but I believe Kyle was the one that put it together, found the person.
Kyle was doing the events.
Yeah, and so we had the first mint on the rooftop. It was a really nice day out. I think it was in April.
Dude, it was so no, it wasn't. So it was October. It was October. Yeah. October 2021. It was at the rooftop, and it was so nice out. Yeah, it was like nice. Right on the skyline, everything. It felt so baller. Yeah. Like
because people were so at the we had a forethought of having mints and having this big projector, and people would mint and like see their image on the projector, and we never did that for the first thing. We just didn't have time to do it, but we had people just sitting on their laptops on couches on the rooftop physically minting. And so as soon as we opened up the mint, you just saw like people on their laptops minting like straight from there. And they're like, I did it. I finally minted. I'm part of the DAO now. So it was a really cool feeling seeing that like this was like, these are the original people that started it all. Like the first, because there was what,
24. Yeah. 24. Do you remember John M, right? Yeah. He that night he was like, dude, I was like, you feel it? Dude, I feel it.
It was a really good time for the DAO because it wasn't too big, and you kind of knew immediately, like faces immediately. I go to some of the DAO meetups now, and I'm like, there's so many new people here.
It's like 10x the amount of people.
Yeah, there's so many new people here that it's almost hard to get to know everybody. Yeah. Like you can see new faces, and it's really great to see new faces because it means that the ecosystem's growing. But it does get to a point where like, I don't know you guys like I knew the original people. But I also need to come out to the events more often, I think.
Well, and also like anytime you have groups that start growing like this, you end up with, subgroups of people that, they probably have their own moment. Like maybe it wasn't that mid moment, but it was, they put together an initiative, they got something over the line.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the original 20, if the original 20 didn't put in the work that they did, the DAO would not be here. Absolutely not. It was
the trenches, dude.
It was the trenches, but it was such a good group of people that all had the same, they had the same vision to a point where they were just working and putting in hours for no real benefit outside of they just want to start a really cool group.
Yeah.
And because of that layer was set, it made everything else far easier. Far easier.
We also hit a magic moment in time where we all had a shit ton of time on our hands.
That was true. Yeah.
Not that we didn't have other things to do, but we'd been so locked up.
But I think at the end of the day, the DAO is events. Like that's what pushes it. And like with Mason and Kyle and everybody else starting from to make really cool events from the very beginning, it's pushed us. Like I still remember, my favorite moment from the DAO is the first South by Southwest event where we
pulled it off.
Yeah, that was a blast.
It was insane. I couldn't even believe it. And my wife's like, yeah, you're crypto friends, like blah 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 blah. Like she believes in crypto and kind of, but she came to the
I think all our wives say the same thing, by the way. Go play with your crypto friends.
She came to the event and was just blown away. She's like, this is insane. Like you guys put together something absolutely insane because there's 1,000 people there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was lined out the door. The headliner was out of control. Like you felt I remember walking around that party. I'm like, I feel like a boss. Like this is crazy. The amount of people there that were just enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And kind of knowing the DAO put it together. Like this would never have happened if a group of people didn't put their brain power together to put something awesome.
Yeah, and you were in the group chat. he moderated the panel. Yeah, you were in the group chat. You saw it go down.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, it was that will always be, I think, my favorite.
That was crazy.
My favorite.
So Kyle got the section with the bottles.
Oh yeah, I think
it was like a Tuesday night.
I remember going to work the next day. We had stand up, and I'm like, I can't talk right now. But I sent them a video, and they're like, that looks crazy.
So I want to go to the future with you guys. Are you ready to go to the future?
Absolutely.
Do it. All right. What's
the number is really high?
Yes, the number's going up. What's happening in the next cycle? And wait. So John, you're the guest. Are we there? Are we entering the next cycle? Is this the beginning of the next bull?
I don't think it's started yet.
No. Just a little peek.
What is it? The Santa rally, and then you dump in January or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what some people are telling me.
I mean, it really, at this point, it just feels like the circle is just, widening as one would expect, because it's just it's in the zeitgeist. This is probably the third time that the mainstream has seen number go up, number go down, number go up. And I think, there are a lot of people at the edge now that are looking for alternatives, thinking about alternatives.
Yeah.
The system isn't working, obviously, and they're looking at their bank account, they're looking at their retirement and saying, what the fuck is going to happen?
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen if I go in on this? Obviously, something's there.
Yeah. I mean, FOMO will always exist no matter what.
Yeah.
So as soon as we start having a pattern of up, you'll just start seeing everybody start FOMOing. And we still, again, we don't have traditional money in any crypto really yet. And so until that happens, I don't think anybody's really going to see fireworks. I think 2017 was great. 2020 was great. DeFi summer, I think, was one of the things that changed. I think just changed on-chain finance, with the growth of Uniswap and other DEXs. It's amazing. I don't need to use a Coinbase or a Binance or anything like that with that ability. Do I know what the next thing is? I think it's probably just going to be easier to use anything that you're using now. Because back then it was still a pain though. You had your stuff on a ledger or a Trezor or something like that, trying to carry that around and do everything.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest process in the world. I mean, it's obviously more safe, but it's not easy. Connecting to different websites where you're like, I trust this. I know people that have been hacked because of that. I think the UI and UX just has to be a lot better. And I think, especially if you want traditional money coming into play, like there's just no way you're not going to have like these websites that look like, you know, a 15-year-old made them like purposely, but it's just not.
Right.
It's like, it's just,
That was a vibe, man.
like Curve.
like I get it, but Curve is losing.
It's a vibe.
Curve is losing users because it's too gigabrain. Like Curve is a great.
It's very confusing. I've got money stuck in Curve. I can't get it.
And that's not how it should be. And it should be very easy. Like I should be able to just buy crypto and trade crypto like without any thought. And I think that's what needs to happen. And it could happen. I don't know if it's going to happen this run. I think this run again is just going to be a lot of speculation, as in any run. But I think the speculation is now getting diminished as far as you're speculating, but you also don't think it's ever going to go back down again. Where, you know, all these people now, especially in the public eye, see like, oh, 2017 happened and it crashed. Oh, 2020 and it crashed. You're like, well, it always went back up afterward. So maybe I shouldn't sell. Maybe it's just like, this is what happens if nobody sells and it doesn't crash kind of thing. And so I think little by little, it'll just get better where our crashes just won't be as big. I mean, what did we have? We had so many like black swan events in 2020 that how does it not drop? Like I was surprised that it didn't drop as much as it did. I was thinking Bitcoin's going to be like $5,000 again, but you had FTX alone that should have just killed everything. Like that should have just made every investor say, okay. I remember after it happened, I said, I don't even want to tell people I'm in crypto anymore. Like it's like a joke. Like I feel like I'm a fraud and you can't think like that. Like there was one bad actor that did something.
No, I feel you though. I had to give a talk to people in Vegas, literally like 2 weeks after FTX.
So we had the pitch competition
to people who knew nothing about crypto. All they knew about crypto was FTX, and I had to get up on stage and talk to them about why crypto was the future.
Yeah,
that was one of the hardest days of my life.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah,
my wife works in traditional finance, and so every time I go to one of her events, somebody always asks, and I say, "Oh yeah." So you just see like they either very interested or they're like mean to me.
They're like, "Oh, you're one of those guys." Yeah. You're the enemy.
Yeah. We have fake money, but you're the toy fake money.
You're the fake money.
I feel like people, they have to understand that Bitcoin is valuable now. I feel like Bitcoin people understand, especially with all the government bullshit going on. Like
it's almost impossible not to anymore. Like there was a time and place in early or late 2000s where you had the Peter Schiffs and everybody else saying like, just look at gold and gold's going to outperform, and it just hasn't, because it's not. I can't just carry gold there. I mean, I can buy like gold bonds and stuff like that, but I can't just carry around gold with me. I can't transact it as easy as I can with Bitcoin. I can't start a business and collect money on the internet from some random person in Africa with gold. I can do that with Bitcoin, and that's incredibly powerful that I can do something like that, and it's decentralized at the same time. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to as long as the miners are mining, I'm good to go.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's a like money period is a system of trust. It's a system of like group hallucination. Basically, we all decide that something is valuable, right? Like Modelo could be the next currency. We all decided that Modelo is the most valuable thing in the world, and depending on where you are and how thirsty you are, it might be, right? It might be better than Bitcoin, but like it's just this idea that as society, from shells to fiat to digital to who knows what's next, but it's just this ever moving forward tipping point where people say, oh yeah, I trust that thing enough to put stock in it.
Yeah. What do you see as far as your, and you could shill obviously, but what are your projects that are top form, not necessarily tokens? So what do you see as a project that has like actual utility in the next year?
I can pump AVAX right now because they're our sponsor. They're literally our sponsor.
Literally our sponsor.
For two things right now. They are amazing. Like straight up, like you have 2 guys in the DAO that just crush it, but they're literally like they're totally captured the GameFi market. Like they've totally captured all Web3 gaming. I'm like, just look up Gunzilla when you get home. Look, it's like a AAA game studio, like building an actual game. There, and if you go to Avalanche's Twitter and just look at every single different game that's built a subnet, and they're like all legit.
Yeah, they have a ton. Shrapnel is going to be huge there.
Shrapnel have been riding to the top, dude.
That one's awesome.
Yeah,
gaming is going to be big once it starts hitting, and like somebody has actually made a video game that's AAA, making money, and it's using crypto at the same time. That's gonna the gaming market.
Yeah, that's all in Avalanche. It's crazy.
Yeah,
they did they're very strategic.
I am actually a big fan. I'm Link Marine fan, so much that's love good. Right there.
So you're crazy and autistic.
Yeah, basically. I figured you'd catch that when you said, when you saw the pickle in the beginning, and it's like,
Link Marine.
I knew it. Degenerate there. Yeah. But like, I think Link is a strong one. CCIP looks super interesting. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that rollout goes and see how an ecosystem develops. Like the gap between the spaces, space between stars kind of thing. It'll be very interesting. Personally, also on that, I think gaming frameworks are very, very interesting. Like Mud's framework from Lattice out of the UK is also very interesting, right? The idea of like fully on-chain game and understanding how that would work, but rejecting like specific details. I also am a big fan of like obviously the compute thesis and like commodity thesis that is Bitcoin, going from this commodity thesis to trying to go to this compute thesis, and ETH being the compute thesis.
So you said I can shill, so I'm going to light shill. So my company, we're building tools to basically create NFT driven membership programs.
Okay.
And so earlier when you were talking about NFTs, you see them in the DAO context as a membership. That's what I'm bullish on. This concept that people are going to start using NFTs in like much more everyday ways, right? It becomes an access pass, it becomes a ticket, it becomes an unlock.
Yeah.
But also that it's dynamic. So what I'm really excited about is in the next cycle, I think we're going to start seeing some really cool things with like metadata inputs that are connected to oracles or other data systems that are sensing or picking up changes either on-chain or off-chain activity that might be validated by a third party.
Yeah.
Who the off-chain source says, yep, they can attest.
Yeah.
Right. And then that changes the NFT. It makes some sort of dynamic update. And as a user, you have this thing on your phone. And now what used to be just a boring punch card or boring membership pass is like actually a reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
And you might have a bunch of those for every different part of your life. Right. And I think that's really cool. Like, why in the world Spotify hasn't done something with, album covers or some sort of representation of like your music listening habits as an NFT?
It's something they have incentive to do it.
Maybe not, but it just feels like such ripe territory for innovation.
Yeah.
And I think if anything, that's what's going to kill them is lack of innovation.
I think they did. I think big name companies tried with like NFT rush, where you have Nike trying to sell NFTs.
Well, they were successful with Artifact.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're still building.
They didn't do it in a utility way. They did it more of an art way. And so I think like that benefit only goes so far. You obviously hold art, that's great, but there's no use case necessarily for that art. And I think like with the DAO and what I think we had ideas of was creating our own space and being able to unlock your way into the door with the NFT and going to different events and getting percentages off of coffee or something like that. And I think that use case is still there.
Still working on it.
Yeah. And I think that use case could be, if you have the right companies that want to take that risk to say, hey, I'm not that big, but I want the ATX DAO members to start using my company. Maybe we should give them a discount with their NFT, and that would be huge. I mean, imagine coming into Austin, joining the DAO, and saying, "Well, I get 5% off at every X coffee shop." Like, I would be going to that coffee shop every single day.
Straight up, yeah.
Just not because I get a discount, but it's so cool. I can tap my phone and I get a cool discount because of it. That's amazing. That's, I think, when you're talking about the future of NFT utility, like that is really cool.
I think the year 3 for ATX DAO, hopefully we can do that. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I got some partners in mind.
Lazarus could be one of them. I would love to get like just out of.
We just have to make it easy for them.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
If you don't hold up any line with you trying to scan your NFT and waiting for the NFT to say, okay, yeah, you're a member. And I think it would be amazing, but it would also be like, how do I train some random register person that makes the minimum wage to care about this or want to do this, or because they have to do that? Because for the most part, unless we integrate into their
US.
There's just no way that's just going to be an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no, we know that pain so well, because that's a big barrier to usage, right? Yeah. But it's a huge expense and a huge bet to go in on something like a POS integration. Like that's a lot of dev effort. So it's going to take a while, but you're totally right. It comes down to like being, and it all goes back to user experience. Is it a good UX to be able to interact with crypto? Can I use my crypto in some meaningful way? Can other people recognize it? But if you think about, back to smartphones, if you think back to messaging, right? In the beginning, like people didn't know how to use pagers. People didn't know how to use text message. They didn't know how to use smartphones. And we figured it out pretty quickly. So that's actually another thing I'm bullish on in this next cycle, is I think we're going to see some step change moments where we're probably all going to be surprised when somebody we never thought would use crypto brings something to us and is like, hey, so I'm doing this thing.
Did you see what Coinbase launched yesterday with their you can just send a text message and it's like Apple Pay, but it's crypto.
I saw that today.
You can send it on any messenger.
Yeah, I saw they said that on WhatsApp.
It's like you send a link and it just
is it custodial?
USDC. Yeah, if you use a Coinbase wallet.
Oh, nice.
It's the building utility for a wallet.
That is true. Like I think companies will start obviously
Shopify. Have you seen Shopify? What they're doing?
You can token gate.
Shopify is they're crypto now. They're down. They're down with the mission.
I mean, locking content is such a good use case. Like having a blog and locking content, being a subscriber, and the subscriber has an NFT that they pay. I think that's an amazing way to token lock without needing a password. I don't want to log into a blog. I have to sign in every time I want to see it. I can just connect my wallet, and if I'm a paying member, I get the content. If I'm not, that and microtransactions. If we can figure microtransactions out to basically ingest small amounts of data for minimal cents, that would be amazing. But transaction costs are just too expensive now.
I mean, I think about token unlocking for creators, like musicians, for instance, like being able to welcome the fans of another musician in, right? Because they're holding, like, maybe they have some NFT music from artist A, and artist B is like, hey, if you like them, you might like me.
You just airdrop it,
yeah. But just doing like these open collaborations where it's like, it's really anyone's game, right? And if you want to open your doors to new audiences, like NFTs, I think just give us a whole new avenue to explore what it means to be a creator and a fan.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of the advertising side of it, if an advertiser knows that, say, Wallet 123 has bought a Taylor Swift album and they have a Taylor Swift NFT, and they have a group of addresses because it's all on chain, public, they can now advertise all types of Taylor Swift-esque people to that one wallet because that person has that information. That's an untapped market for marketing right now. And advertisement is just sending information or having people buy stuff. And then now that wallet is just associated for that, because it never will change. You can get a different wallet, obviously, but that wallet is now associated with Taylor Swift.
So what does that look like? You're like airdropping them Taylor Swift stuff?
Exactly. And just kind of pushing, like, if you have a Universal, which is artists, hey, check out, we're going to airdrop you this free single.
Yeah.
So what do you think that plays out, though, like in terms of spam?
Yeah,
because I look at some of my wallets from last cycle, like during NFT craze, and it's just full of crap, and I'm like, it's an unusable wallet basically at this point.
I think you can't probably just airdrop it in there because it is going to be like that. Like in your open state, it'll just go into that hidden folder. You'll never know it was there. One of them that I think did it really well. So I don't know if you're familiar with StepN or like a fitness thing. So when they launched their Ethereum realm, they made it available so all Bored Ape holders could just mint one for free, and they ended up selling for about an ETH each. But they were able just to mint it and get it for free. So I think getting awareness that you have that access and letting you mint it, I think is probably the way, because otherwise people are never going to know about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of like it's like a time-based if this then that, right? Like if you've done this, then you can do that.
Yeah.
And so it's using the wallet's history to basically open the door to the future, and you're holding the ticket.
Yeah.
I think that there's this like interesting opportunity when you look at something like as like the interconnectivity between like two like endpoints, right? Not even ecosystems where you're talking about like a protocol sending a message and a wallet receiving that message, right? But like, going on this Taylor Swift example, it's like targeted advertisements, right? Like basically you can understand that, hey, this is a user bio, and like we can then, send our message to this user bio. And I think this is all going to be enhanced by the fact not of like contracts, but like ML tooling that basically can generate, on the fly, literally content that's tailored for these people. So it's like you have an individual that has bought, a series of Taylor Swift singles. They went to the game. They went to a game where, they went to a Kansas City game and Taylor Swift was there. And then they also went to the concert. All this stuff becomes like a specialized narrative that an advertiser can then push out through an ML tooling that can be directly sent to them. But at the same time, there's this weird thing that can occur where it's like, hey, if you're like a Young Dolph fan, for example, and you went to his concert, you bought his album, all the same tooling and narrative stuff can be pushed through this ML kind of like Stargate of sorts that'll also build a narrative and send it to them. And I imagine that there's a very realistic future where once this kind of tech or this tooling is native to the space in between, it becomes like super interesting to see the amount of like specialization, like the boutiqueness of like getting a message to someone, which is like fascinating to think about, right? Like an ad that's tailor-made to your needs, knows exactly what you like, what you've done, where you want to go, and then it sends you that message. It's super empowering, super scary. But
isn't that already what Instagram does, though?
But is it truly a one of? You're talking at like audience of one, right?
Exactly. So I believe that like if we're to expand on this, right, we're talking about targeted messaging, but like what if it could be tuned to the point where you have like a GAN that generates exactly to your user demo, where we understand like, hey, like this is your demographic, you're a male, you're this age, this is where you live, this is all the things that you probably like, this is what you have done based on your ownership and your activities, and your narrative is basically structured around that. And I think that's going to be a very interesting future. It's a scary future, right? But
I was going to say, I think there's a Black Mirror episode like this.
Yeah, probably, right? Maybe we're actively just creating Black Mirror episodes. We're just going through the anthology.
That is true.
We are doing that.
It's all self-fulfilling prophecies, right?
But The Simpsons already predicted it.
So I guess the real question is when is AGI? Is that
Elon Musk says 3 years.
3 years? Is that less than that?
I don't know, but there's a conference this weekend at Keiretsu, apparently. So it should be an AI conference that's happening there. I know I'm going to go there and try and figure it out. So, but I just think it's a very interesting way to think about things, right? And this added value of tooling that can be built outside of just like creating the messaging and outside of just consuming the content. You become this part where it's like your value is naturally extrapolated throughout this chain. It's just like a very crazy way to think about this future that we're building. I don't know. Super exciting to think about. Just something for me to nerd out about, I guess. Sorry.
Well, imagine if you're in that space in between and you can capture your engagement in an NFT, which is you, and then you can license the data from that NFT to different platforms that want to understand which sort of persona, which one of one was most effective, so they can, redirect resources. Like,
there's a guy I met at the Network State conference.
It's gonna be a funky future, guys.
I met this guy at the Network State conference. I can't find his thing. He had some I think it was called like Friday. I don't know, some app running on Solana where essentially you could plug into like Spotify and whatever and download your data and essentially tokenize it and sell it. And it like apparently you have rights essentially to consistently download your data and know when it's being accessed, and then you can use crypto to take control of that and monetize it for yourself.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, let me dig on my phone for a little bit and find the name of his app, because I mean, it sounded crazy.
Do you guys know the futurist Jared Lanier?
No.
This has been his jam for a little while. Like he believes that everybody in society at some point will have this digital exhaust. They'll have a digital shadow and they'll have digital exhaust that's just kind of constantly coming off of us in whatever metaverse we're interacting in. And that's going to be a stream of value that we'll be able to individually monetize. And he actually, he was a proponent, I think, in the beginning of early UBI concepts. And so his whole idea was that, basically just by existing, you're throwing off enough monetizable data to pay for your existence.
It's called myfriday.io. Own your data.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting that we have all of this data. So blockchains are just public ledgers.
Yeah.
And it is everything is just hidden in plain sight. So there's so much data and so many analytics that, especially for what I do, is I do a lot with our metrics engine. And so I get to work with all of Chainlink's metrics and other different project metrics, see what's actually happening, how much nodes are making, how is Chainlink profitable. And you dive in and everything is in front of it. You can go on Etherscan and find all of this information out, but it's so difficult to actually digest. And once we have something, and I've kind of toyed with trying to use AI to learn blockchains better, but training on blockchain data is just
a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
So
and
dirty.
It would just be so expensive because it would just have to be a constant thing because blocks are constantly being reproduced. So you have all of this information that it is literally hidden in plain sight. We can aggregate all of this information to kind of figure out trading styles and what's going to be the next thing if somebody's being malicious, especially with hacks now. And it's just sitting there right in front of us. We can't really do anything with it. And it's only a matter of time until we have the power to be able to do something with it. And who knows?
Yeah. Maybe that's next cycle.
Maybe that's the killer app.
That's the killer app.
That's the killer app of next cycle. All right. Someone get to work here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, maybe we should wrap it up. Do we have any exciting news about the DAO? Anything to share? Shout out?
I mean, okay. Well, I have you here, captive audience. January is going to be big. We got, so the ATX DAO art residency we're doing with Avalanche. We're going to have our first NFT workshop where we teach the artists how to make NFTs. But beyond the actual workshop part of it, it's a larger mission of actually bringing the tech community and the art community together, because that's actually something that's happened. And our partner with it is Dada Lab and Dada Geek, and they're super reputable in the city, but they're that's the hub for the weird tech type art people that do digital stuff. They do weird contraptions in the space, TV walls, generative art. So it's a perfect fit. So we need people to show up for that event for sure. And then there's the pitch competition on the 27th of January, which we're going to do at ACC, which will be important because they're trying to get their exposure to their school to entrepreneurs so they can understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur and learn about pitching and everything. And then obviously we'll have our people there. We'll have the undergrads at UT there. We'll have the graduate students at UT there. But we're trying to bring ACC into the fold as well. So 2024, Austin is we're going to become community leaders for real, and that's the goal, I think, at least from my perspective.
Cool. Speaking of that, there's other cities now.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's so many. There's so many. I've been working with Boston DAO all week this week. They're legit. Dallas wants to do it. I'm trying to help them. It's going to take a bit of time. They have the talent though, and they have a very deep bench of important people in Dallas. Lee from Texas Blockchain Council, he was yo, I'm into help. He was I want to help get city council people in. There's people that want to help. It just, we have to figure out the game plan. And the more I talk to Boston DAO or Kansas, I talk to Kansas. I know you talk to Kansas. Or I talk to Boston DAO, Kansas, and whoever else. I realized, and 404 DAO, I talked to them last week too. The playbook, we have a playbook and it's very successful, but that's not the playbook. There's a ton of different things from each other city DAO that is valuable. And it's going to be a longer project of figuring out what actually is the right way to do it.
Yeah. I think it has to be dynamic. I don't think
Yeah.
there's necessarily one right way, because every city's going to be completely different.
100%.
Dude,
Different personalities.
Yeah.
But I think we here set a pretty good blueprint for.
Yeah, I mean, they all want to be, they want to achieve the same level of notoriety and like success we've been able to have. And we have like a unique situation with Austin and conferences and blah, blah, blah. But every city has its like specialty. I mean, I'm very impressed with Boston DAOs, honestly, like super, super impressed by them.
Yeah, it ends up coming down to is the DAO there for financial gain? It's probably
That's true.
Yeah,
But then,
especially in a bull market.
Some people will
the DAO can't, it can't be financial gain, but then the question becomes, how does the DAO sustain itself? And we still haven't solved that problem.
Circular question.
We should be able to answer it. That's okay. Goal number 2 for 2024, figure out how to answer that question. Because that's like the key question. Like I talked to DC DAO, like DC DAO is trying to happen. I had a group call with them and with 44 DAO, DC DAO, and then someone from DTX DAO. And the question that I couldn't figure out was like, well, what makes this financially viable? And the answer is like, well, it shouldn't be financially viable. But then the follow up to that is like, okay, well, where does the money come from? And it should come from patrons probably, but then it's like, well, where is the ROI for a patron? Even like patrons and donors want to see something. So it's such a complicated mess.
I think it has to be more meta. I think it has to be like how Austin is like you pay for a membership, and it might have to be a recurring membership to be part of something. And I think that's that might not be the best thing for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think to be part of a membership like consistently might have to be the way.
I mean, and I think you can open some new doors too when you get to a certain level of, people. When you have DAOs connected across cities and you have a certain number of people in those DAOs, like to a business in any of those cities, like DAOs become a much larger footprint and much more interesting. And so, ideas like some sort of rev share, in exchange for them being able to advertise or target people in the DAO with different kinds of offers or rewards, and when somebody goes and they buy that cup of coffee at a discount, like a small portion of it goes back to a treasury. Those kinds of ideas become a lot more viable when you scale.
Yeah,
we become literally the United States and federal. Like each one is their own little state,
an on-chain republic.
It is. I mean, it's funny that like voting and everything else, it's very, very similar to what we already have. It's very difficult to get people to vote, and it's just difficult. Like government is difficult, governance is difficult, and no matter what protocol, DAO or whatever it is,
it's very fun.
It is. It's very exciting.
It's exciting. We don't have to say
fun.
Yeah, maybe not fun.
Exciting is a better word.
Exciting is a much better word.
It's exciting, but I think it's nice to be part of something. A lot of people in the DAO just want to be part of something.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to communicate to people, like about starting a city DAO. It's like, well, why do you do it? I'm like, okay, well, don't just do it to do it. You have to do it because you want to make something that's more than a meetup.
Make your city better. Like even if you're in a small town, like if it's going to make your city, your town, or whatever it is better, then of course do it. But if you're doing it for financial gain, because I know we've talked to some DAOs that are doing it for that, and that was the only reason they started, and they're not here anymore because it just doesn't work like that. And so if you do it to better your city, it's awesome that like Austin is now a better place than the DAOs here. Like,
it's awesome.
It's awesome to see that. It's awesome to see these events pop up and all these new people and friendships that are made and networking that's done. Like that's an awesome thing, and that's why Austin is the forefront of crypto. Like name another city that is more crypto friendly than Austin right now, and you're not gonna find it.
We went on our first DAO field trip the other week too. Ash was there. We all went to Fort Worth. Or like 10 people went to Fort Worth for the blockchain summit. It's fun.
What's the energy there?
It was fun. Yeah, we had a great time. We were shooting the shit and hanging out, and like we had some good nights. And then next week, talk about a field trip. We've got like 16 DAO members going to Tulum for the ATX DAO Tulum vacation.
That's right.
You should see the agenda. So Jake Patterson, Jesse's brother, he's like he's the travel guy. His company. The agenda he's got for us is crazy. It's like day 1 ATVs all day, like check in, drive it. You can do whatever you want. Day 2 private beach. Day 3 cenotes. Day 4 like this is water park. Day 5 a free day with clubbing planned, and then day 6 yacht day and private chef, 2 meals a day all week. And it was like $1,500 for a shared bedroom.
And is this only DAO members?
Yeah, and plus
This
ones.
is why you have to be a DAO.
That's why I have to. It's DAO members and plus ones.
That's a killer agenda.
If you want to do couch, dude, it's only like $800 for all of that.
Yeah, for a week.
Yeah, for a week, free food. Like, dude,
Yeah, no brainer. Awesome.
Tulum's nice. It's not like you're in the ghetto Mexico or anything. Tulum's a nice area too. So
it'll be interesting. I'm very excited, but I gotta get through a big week of stuff first. Yeah, ATX DAO to the moon.
yeah.
To this day, it is still going to the moon.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Onwards, upwards. Let's go.
Number go up.
John, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good chat.
Thanks, guys.